today to continue from where we stopped. And I will be projecting the PowerPoint to you, and we shall continue from where we stopped the other time. And the part one, we call it the part one, which has to do with the connection between the literature review and statement of research problem. When we met the last time, we talked about the steps of the scientific method research process. And I remember that we mentioned that even though the problem statement is always located in the chapter one, in the chapter of introduction, which of course contains the background to the study, the statement of the research problem, the research objectives, the research questions, scope of the studies, significance of the study, and definitions of terms. Even though problem statement is located in the first chapter, it is pertinent to note that it comes from review of the literature. The nature of research determines that we have to read the literature first, even though we have in mind, we have the idea of what we like to study. Of course, having the idea of what we like to study is a very, very important thing in research. We have to have something. We have to determine to do research on a particular issue. If we don't have that in mind, we will not be able to go for specific literature on a specific area. The literature is a world on its own. When you say literature, literature is very wide, but we have to ask ourselves the conceptual area, the concept that we like to deal with, and of course the theory. But first and foremost, it is good we talk about the concept. Once we are reviewing the literature, we'll be able to get our way to the theory to use. And one thing about literature review is that it is always located in the second chapter. So chapter 2 is made up of review of the literature. What is review of the literature? Review of the literature should suggest reading the existing body of knowledge, that is, what scholars before us have done, what they have written on the subject matter of interest that we would like to venture into, want to write research about. So the literature is the first port of call. We are going to read the literature extensively and take note of major points so that we will not miss the road. So it's like a compass, and that is what we discussed about 2 days ago, that when we review the literature, we'll be able to formulate our research problem. How? Whenever we read the literature, we'll be able to locate a gap that is very important to fill. We'll look at it, maybe, and that is what we call the problem. It's a problem because Others have not talked about it, even though they have given background. They have created for us a background to discuss about it, for discussing about it, but they are yet to do any research in that. So that's the problem, and that is what we are going to state in our own chapter 1. I remember, so my movement is between review of the literature review and formulation of the research problem. Within some 15 minutes, then I will now be talking about other area of the research. Like I told you, that literature review is like a compass. If we venture into writing any research work without reading the literature, we will be like a traveler in a desert without a compass. Therefore, we are likely to get lost, or we are likely to miss the road. So if we do not want to miss the road and we would like to do the right thing, it is pertinent that we try in as much as possible to get the literature. Those of you that are there, I can see Azizat Lawasi. I would like to ask whether you people can still see the material I'm presenting. If you can still see it, I think that will be very okay for us. That is what I would like to know. Okay? You can see it. Okay. So we don't. If you don't read the literature before you start your research, before you write your, before you go on with your research, it means that, look at this point. It is like you don't have the compass with which to travel. Every pilot inside the plane has the compass to travel. So we have to have it to know where we are going. It guides us. The literature guides us, because we will see what others have done, and then we'll be able to determine what we would like to do. You will see where to add your own information to enrich the literature. It is a normal thing to do. I also, you see, this is what we have said, and I expect you are expected to read those things. You may need it in your exam, and you may need it in another time, especially when you get to year 4, when you are writing your research. Remember that 2 days ago, when we had this lecture, we talked about we just tried to come up with an idea. I would say that if the idea of what you would like to write for your project is TV violence, then you should go for existing research work on TV violence. Existing research works or existing body of knowledge mean the research that other people have written in the past. So the first research work that was written on TV violence is George Gardner Violence Index, Cultivation Theory. Having read literature on TV violence, then you will be able to discover a niche area that has not been researched in the literature of TV violence. So take note of key authors, like I told you, and take note of key points they make. When you are reading literature, 2 things are very essential. Take note of key points, and take note of those who mention the key points. Take note of the book, and of course, take note of the book or journal pages. They will mention the name, Ahmad, 2015, and they will, of course, the page will also be there. So, talking about references, how to make references, whether inside the text, citation, so it's a subject of another day that we are going to talk about later. Now, how to make statement of the research problem, I taught you last week, and you see, statement of research problem it all comes from the literature, and of course, in your chapter 1, when you are writing problem statement, something must come before it, and that is what we call background to the study. That is 1.1 background to the study, then 1.2 would be a statement of the research problem. And what we want you to do in the background is to come out theoretically and conceptually, be talking about what people have said, and you narrow it down to your own study, and that is where you tap on the problem statement. Like I told you, the problem statement the problem statement gave back to the research objective, and it gave back to the research question. I mentioned that particular area that research objective come in two ways. It can be overall objective. You have to state it, and then you have to break the objective also into, you split it into comprehensive statement. Look at, for example, we said the objective of this study is to find out if waging violence in Kannywood Hausa film by Hausa young women has any connection with violent behavior towards their husband. And then, that is overall objective. It's a summary objective. It summarizes everything. And if you look at it with the problem statement, you see the connection. You see the connection between the two. So no way you will not see the connection. You see this study fills the gap in the literature because it is pertinent that an empirical study. Let me add study. Should be conducted on marital violence, violence in the north of Nigeria from the TB cultivation perspective, because killing-related violence has happened every now and then in this developing society. Then if you look at the objective, you see that the objective of the study connects with the problem statement. Likewise, the research questions also explicate the research problem in an investigative format. The objective of the study and research question, both of them stream out of a problem statement. When we have research questions, it's like we are turning the research problem into questions. So in an investigative format, in order that this is the study we like to carry out, because when you ask question, you answer yourself, and you'll be able to know that so you are getting it right. And when the second reader read your project, they will be able to tell that the research questions, of course, are very effective in directing the writing of the research. Research questions also guide us on relevant data to collect in accordance with our theory. The research question, it itself is the problem statement. It itself comes from the literature, even though we have mentioned that it is part of the problem statement. In some journal, when you read it, you just read the problem statement, and the next thing you see is just the research questions following it. So research question and research objective explicate the research problem. Therefore, the number of objectives we have will determine the number of research questions we are having. If you have 3 objectives, then the research question will be 3. If you have 3 questions, there are 4 objectives, then your question should also be 4. So in the case of our study, we have 2 research questions as follow. Look at it. Will a Hausa wife, a young Hausa wife, I think this error of grammar, would like to imitate a female character in Kannywood film? Does viewing violent scenes in Kannywood relate with young Hausa wives' violence behavior towards their husband? If you look at it, you will see that it has a connection with the objective. Number one objective of the study, which of course, the first objective is to ascertain if a young Hausa wife would like to imitate, imitate a female character in the Kannywood film. This is a general question. We are not saying whether she will imitate in terms of violence, but this is a good question, because generally speaking, if definitely a female viewers would like to imitate models in film, we can say it will be in all ramification. The way the model smile, the way the model, of course, frowns, and of course the way the model react to issue. So it is a general question that we want to know if a young Hausa wife would like to imitate a female character in the Kannywood film. Then we now say that we want to know if violence in Kannywood relate with violent behavior of Hausa young wives towards their husband. We ask this question to the research question. We ensure that it has some bearing. It has some connections with the research objective, and you can see that the research problem is the mother that gives birth to both research objective and research questions. I repeated that the research problem, which of course is the reason why we are conducting our research. Because when you mention research problem, it means it means that why are we doing the research? Why? I told you that if there's no problem, there's no research. If there's no problem, forget about research. There must be a problem right away from the literature that you would like to formulate and make it. When you say formulate a research problem, you are telling us that you want to state it categorically that this is what I want to do. And because of this and that, I'm writing research on this. I'm filling a gap. Now, we have talked this. Now, let us look at another thing, which is the scope of study. Scope of study. What do we call study? Last week or so, 2 days ago when we have this class, we did it. We had the class in action, so that everybody is carried along. Everybody can see what we are doing and how we are doing it. Now, I want to talk about the scope of the study. What do we mean by scope? When you mention the word scope, we are talking about a word of its own. That's what we mean by scope. By scope, so the coverage of something. What something cover? When you say scope of the study is what we want to talk about. So let me start with a scope means the coverage area coverage area of something. We are talking about what is covered. Those things, let's say, those things that are covered. in a discussion coverage area. So what is those things that are covered in a discussion? You can call a scope that way. You know, when we did economics in secondary school, our teachers used to tell us the scope of economics, and they will give us, they will talk about every part of, they will talk about scarcity and choice and scale of preference. They will talk about divisions of labor. They will talk about international trade. They will talk about a lot of things. Those are the things that are covered by what we wanted, what they were teaching us in economics in secondary school in those days. So those things that the economics did not cover, like newspaper reporting, is not covered by economics, so it's not part of the scope. And for example, now, if you are talking about scope of mass communication as a field of knowledge, you talk about broadcasting, you talk about journalism, print journalism, you talk about public relations and advertising, you talk about development communication, you talk about film studies, you say these are the scope of so what those things that are covered in the discussion, those things that are involved are the things that are involved, the things that are involved, the things that are involved in in a project. If you are doing a project, you talk about what the project covers. So, and what it doesn't cover is not part of it. So anything that is part of it is part of the scope. So therefore, scope of a research study, is what the research mainly or mainly covered. Those things that are mainly covered in the research, mainly involved. So that is it. That's what we mean by scope of research. Is what the research mainly involved. Now, looking at the subject matter of our problem statement, we will now say that you can say you can now say this study when you are writing the scope of the study. So you can say the scope of in the case of our in the case of in the case of our research on Hausa women and violence in Kennywood, violence let's say sins. Am I correct with how I wrote my sins in Kennywood? We will say that in the case of research on Hausa and violence syndrome, we now say the scope includes the following. We now say the scope include Group includes Hausa women. It may not be every Hausa woman. It may not be that every Hausa woman watches Kannywood. So include Hausa women that watch or view Kannywood. Kannywood, that is one. Violence, scenes of violence in Hausa films. We are talking about Kannywood. In Kannywood, what we mean by Kannywood is Hausa films. So, number one, Hausa women that watch or who watch or view Hausa films or Kannywood. That's one. Two, scenes of violence in Kannywood. And three, violence behavior. Violence behavior. Violence behavior is part of it. What again? If you go to the scope, will be, the problem statement it's very powerful. So it should be able to give us all the scope. You see, between very is research work on connecting with housing and violent behavior among couples in the northern area. So this study could be on marital violence in the north of Nigeria from TV cultivation. Now I'll say instead of I say violence, then I could say marital violence. Marital violence. Marital violence. In the northern society, in Hausa societies, yeah, in Hausa society in Nigeria, it's part of it. Then the film that you have selected for study, you have to mention the film. You can say maybe you want to look at 3 Hausa films. You can bracket them, 3 Hausa films. Then you can say, I don't know most of the Hausa films, but if there is any Hausa student in the class, I think that person should be able to help us and give us the name of the film. But the one that I can remember maybe Gerimo da Safi. Maybe that is one. Maybe another 2. The second one, I don't know. Any one of you that have watched Hausa film before, I can remember Gerimo da Safi and maybe Jemilu. Maybe Jemilu and Jamila, and maybe you have mentioned 2, and Jemilu and Jamila. Then the last one may be can somebody give me name of Hausa film, a title? Hello? Can somebody give me a title of Hausa film? among those of us here? Can Amina give me a title of an Hausa film? Yeah? Okay, maybe Abdul can give me one. Okay? 3 Hausa film, for example, Karim Dasafi, Jamila, and Jamilu, and okay. So, if I cannot remember, maybe okay. I think there is one film in Hausa that was very popular in the past. It's one of the first sets, which was produced around year 2000, and that is Wasila. Yeah, Wasila. Now, this then. So let's say we have we have mentioned the scope. We don't normally number it, but we can number it for the sake of pointing out those things that are involved. Number one is Hausa women who watch or view Kannywood. 2 is, let's say, B, scenes of violence in Kannywood, Hausa film. And another thing that is also there is marital violence in Hausa society in Nigeria. And of course, D, 3 Hausa films, Karim the Selfie. And when we talk about Hausa women who watch, say, Hausa young women, young Hausa women, we can include that in between 18 and 30, for example, between age 18 and 30. So this is the scope. This is what our research, because a research cannot cover everything. A research must have a scope. The rationale, let me say, the rationale for having rationale for having a research scope, for having what? A research what? Research or study scope is that is the fact that a research cannot cover everything, about something. So your research cannot cover everything about violence. There are some Hausa films that we may not, if they are not included, and there are some age brackets that have been excluded. Look at it now. We said 18 to 32, which means we have excluded people below 18, and we also excluded people above the age of 32. You can see that we have scope. And we say young Hausa women, and then we specify the age group. So we are not including old Hausa women in this. And we said scenes of violence in Kannywood. That is the focus. Scenes of violence in Kannywood. So films that do not contain violence, for example, we may not use it. It's not included. And another subject matter of interest is that we are dealing with marital violence in Hausa society in Nigeria or in the Nigeria North. So it means that we are not dealing with education of women. We are not dealing with how business are doing business, how women are doing business. We are not dealing with a lot of things that women do. We are talking about marital violence, and so we also restrict ourselves to 3 Hausa films. And that is it. And the fact that we limit our research to Hausa films. How about other films that Hausa women watch? They watch Yoruba film, they watch Igbo film, they watch English film, they watch Indian film, they watch Chinese film, they watch American films. So they watch this kind of films. So they might have seen violence in those films, but why Hausa films only? So that is a way to know that scope is a very important subject matter in research, and the scope emanates, of course, from the problem statement, like I said. Now, the scope will even let the reader of your research understand the extent to which you are filling a gap in your research. Look at it. TV violence, discussion about TV violence in research started in the US, even before George Gardner, but focusing it on television violence. I think George Gardner was the first professor to deal with that sociological issues, social issue. You like calling sociological issues because violence is a sociological issue. So George Gardner started it in 1969. He wrote paper in 1972. He wrote another one in 1976. George Gardner and Signorelli and Larry Gross wrote another one in 1980, 1983. They were replied, they were attacked by Hughes in 1980, and the other scholar, of course, also in 1981, and MacDonald is another scholar from Australia in 1981 and 83 that wrote about cultivation research, and he was very moderate, unlike Hughes, who attacked George Gardner. That look, I will not believe that. I don't believe at all that television violence can cultivate violent behavior in American young viewers, because what you said, when we conducted similar, when we tried to replicate TV violence and violent behavior in society, we saw that at our end here in Australia, it was not like that. So Woba also conducted research in 1983. He conducted research in UK. He tried to replicate it, and so on and so forth. And Ahmad Murtada and Dauda conducted similar research in Ilorin, and look at whether television violence could cultivate violent behavior in the youth. And we came up with some findings and contributed to the existing body of knowledge. And here is Asia Said that we used last week, 2 days ago, that she's the one conducting this research in Zaria, trying to know whether, so if you look at it, the setting of this research is totally different from the one conducted in the US, and totally different from the one conducted in Japan, totally different from the one conducted in UK by Woba, and totally different from the one conducted in Australia by MacDonald in 1979. Now, of course, it's not the same setting. It's totally different from the setting Murtada Ahmad and Dauda Kamal used in 2015 for their own research. So you can now see the scope of the research to an extent exposes the extent to which you are filling a gap in the research. So the scope of the study has connection with the problem statement, the research objective, and of course research questions. If the scope of the study is far removed or somewhat removed from problem statement, it suggests that your scope of the study has no root. And if the scope of the study has no root, then your research will now become seriously fallible. It will be fallible because you have missed the road. So can you see the connection? So research, that is why we will always tell you students that you cannot copy. If you copy and paste for research, you are making a mistake, because research is a kind of chain of connection between one part and another. See, we are coming from the background of we are coming from the literature. That research started from the literature. It does not start from the problem. It does not start from the topic. It starts with your idea, but your idea must fit into a specific body of knowledge in the area of your research interest. Then you continue to read and read and read, and then you now see that there is a problem to fix. There's a problem to fix. In fact, like I told you, that most of the research we conduct nowadays are a sort of replications of similar study conducted in another clime that far removed from our own environment. And of course, we are filling the gap because we are enriching the existing body of knowledge. Now look at it. We are coming from, and that is why if you travel abroad to do your master or PhD, you may find a white man telling you that, do you have idea of what to say? You say you have the idea. You say, okay, let me have the construct. See that somewhere and try to let me know those things that you want to use. And okay, go and do literature. And he will be asking you even to go and write chapter 2 before you write chapter 1, so that they will know where you are coming from. And that is why I told you that the background to your study should be theoretical. The theory will be reflecting right from the background. The concept will be reflecting. We are talking generally. Like somebody who is studying NSA among the present year 4, the background, I told that answers should be reflecting right from your background, because the background of your study. Like I told you that even newspaper is part of the literature. Magazine is part of the literature. In fact, electronic recorded sound, they are part of the literature. So, and that is why, so if you now look at what we have been talking about, you now see that everything connects. Everything connects. So look at the research, the scope, look at the objective, look at the question. You will see that both objective and the questions stream out of the problem. And you can now see that, of course, the scope of the study stream out of the problem statement. So you can now see that the problem is the engine room of your research. Because if there is disconnection between the scope of your study and, of course, the research problem, then just forget it. You are out of your scope is out of the radar. God forbid. When a plane is taking flight from Abuja to Lagos, those in the what you call it in the airport, in charge of the radar, they will follow they will continue to see the aeroplane from Abuja to Lagos. So even if it is traveling to Saudi Arabia, they will continue to see it in the radar. Because once it gets out of the radar, it suggests that something ominous has taken effect. God forbid. So that is why we have to look at this thing from the perspective from which I've been explaining it. Before I move on, if you have questions, please ask me questions before I move to another area. We have spent at least some 45 minutes because we started at 2 on the dot. So it means that we are making progress. So I want to know if You have any question before we move to another area? Any question?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Okay. You said Asisa would like to say something. I listen to you. I'm listening to you. What is it? You said?
I have a question.
Okay. As we have been using the name of Asia Said, that she's the researcher since 2 days ago. That she's the researcher and she's the one replicating that empirical study on TV violence in Zaria. So now let's move ahead. I know that because you are enjoying this particular lecture, you jump pack this afternoon like 2 days ago. Almost everybody in the class was around 2 days ago. So it will continue like this till you write your project, and I promise to do that. It's part of my objectives for the school. And we have uploaded one on YouTube this afternoon. We are uploading this one also. I will continue to make it serially till we reach chapter 5 of our research. But if you look at what I've been able to tell you, significantly speaking, I'm not saying this is your chapter 1, this is your chapter 2, but my movement is between chapter 2 to 1. Chapter 2 to 1, not chapter 1 to 2. To understand, look at the product. When you look at a fine baby, you say, this baby is too fine. But the question is, did the baby fall from this? Did it fall from the sky? No, it was given birth to by someone, and of course. And that is why literature review is the mother of problem statement. And the problem statement is the mother of research objective and research question, and of course, the scope of the study. So you can see, if you tell me this kind of thing in exam, I know that you mean business. And definitely you are making a very big score. Now, that is the scope of the study. Now, let us talk about, majorly speaking, apart from the literature, which is the root of all these things that you have been doing, which of course is the root of everything. Chapter 2 is the root of chapter 1. If they ask you a question in the exam, whether chapter 1 of your research is the mother of chapter 2, tell them that, look, chapter 2 is the mother of chapter 1. Because chapter 2 includes the theoretical framework, the empirical studies, the conceptual overview, the conceptual framework, and everything. So chapter 2 is the model of chapter 1 in research, technically speaking. If we are dealing with what leads to what, so that is it. Now, let us now look at another thing. Let us add one more slide before we bring the lecture to an end. Although I don't like talking about it until chapter 5, but I'll say it here. Because it's something that we can touch on the periphery, even though it also has its own background. I tell people that significance of the study in any research, significance of the study whenever you talk about it, and the way I was trained by specialists, they used to tell us that significance of study is given back to by chapter 5, where you have findings an outcome of the research. But it is not located in chapter 5 of research. It is always located in chapter 1. And by the time I explain everything about significance of the study today, you'll be able to understand that it emanates from chapter 5. It emanates from chapter 5. And, but its place is chapter 1. Most of the things you see in chapter 1, especially problem statement, the engine room, does not emerge all by itself. It is given back to by the mother called literature review. Now, I want to talk about significance of the study. When you say significance means, can somebody tell me important? When you say some importance, it means importance. Significance means importance. To an extent, it revolves around the essence of something. So, significance of something, when you say significance of a thing, means importance of that thing, or of that thing. If I would say it in a nutshell, I'll just say it is the significance of a thing means importance of such. Importance of that particular thing. And significance of something revolves around essence of the thing. So that's what you mean when you say significance. If somebody say, what is the significance of going to school? Going to school has some significance. So now, therefore, significance of a study suggests what to gain from the study, what to gain. So significance of study comes in two ways. Significance of a study is two-pronged. Let me look at is two words, two-pronged. Two-pronged. Yeah. One is the benefit, the outcome of the outcomes. The outcome is also what we call the finding. The outcome is what we call what we call the findings. The benefit, the outcome of the benefit, the outcome, or the finding of the study will rendered to the existing body of knowledge, of knowledge. Like I told you that in the beginning, the research that you are conducting, you benefited from some people. Number one, you took your problem statement from them. You were able to locate a point of problem in their own research. So when you have finished your own and you have come up with some outcome and finding, definitely the finding should be able to add to the existing body of knowledge. So, findings of your research or outcome of your research of the study about viewing violence in Kannywood, viewing violence in Kannywood, and violence behavior and marital violence, let me call it marital violence. Marital violence in Hausa society, in Hausa society. So finding of the study about viewing violence in Kannywood and marital violence in Hausa society will contribute additional information. Additional what? Additional information to the literature of TV violence. Of what? Of TV violence. To the literature. Are you with me? So that's number one. It will contribute to the existing body of knowledge. So people will be citing Asia Said in the future that like they are citing Murtada and Dauda, like they are citing George Gabner, his masters, and so on and so forth. Now that is number one. Number one benefit. The second benefit, I said it's twofold. The benefit, the outcome of the finding will render to the system. So let me say first, I didn't include it here. Let me say first. Then let me say second. The finding recommendations given, the recommendation given or stated or made in the concluding part of the study. That's why I said this one comes from chapter 5, concluding what? Part of the study will benefit the Kannywood industry, or Kannywood and Nigerian film industry, and what? And Nigerian film industry, the regulatory body, the what? Regulatory body, the board of video censors. I can't remember what they called it. The regulatory body, censors of what? There's a body called film censorship, something like video censor board. The video censor, okay, censor board, and Nigeria Broadcasting Commission, Nigeria what? Nigeria, NBC, Nigeria, NBC, right? NBC, Nigeria Broadcasting Commission. So, about in the area of regulation, in the area of regulating film production in Nigeria, film production in Nigeria. So we are going to stop here, and we are going to meet any other time after the exam. I know that this kind of training that I'm giving you, I know you appreciate it. It goes beyond the class. It goes beyond the class. And because I'm teaching you like a tailor would teach the apprentice how to sew clothes, and like a cook would teach how to make egusi soup and with ogbono and oha soup and pounded yam. A student is smiling here because when she so ladies and gentlemen, my dear student, I would like to bring this class to an end this afternoon till when we shall meet again next week. I thank everybody for participating in this particular class till when we shall meet next time. I say thank you to everybody. Goodbye. Bye. Thank you.